A coffee house is somehow like a refuge, a place where any person can go when they are away from home, as the street is not always comfortable enough. They are places where each second seems to have its own entity, and that's why they easily become asylums for people who try to kill time while they try not to be killed by it. But maybe that is just the way I want to see coffee houses from my idealized European understanding of them. Far from most coffee houses in the old continent, American coffee houses are mainly just places where people go, take the coffee, and then leave, particularly in New York City. However, after doing some research, I found a few exceptions in Brooklyn, most of which are established in Williamsburg. These are places where people usually hug each other when they meet, and the servers often know the customers from every day. They are not just another strategic location of a big franchise, but individually and genuinely charming environments where two people can talk over a cup of coffee for hours. In this respect, caffeine could be seen as a social lubricant that sharpens the intellect and stimulates the wit, making the most casual conversation a motive of excitement. In fact, coffee houses can be as addictive as the caffeine that is served there, and, in my opinion, they have had a central role in the shaping of modernity, as they became the social and intellectual meeting point after the disappearance of the aristocratic and hierarchic saloons motivated by the French Revolution. Since its introduction in Europe in the 17th century, coffee experimented a permanent growth of popularity, and even Johann Sebastian Bach composed the Coffee Cantata in 1732, based on the story of a girl that supplicates her father not to forbid her to drink her 3 daily cups of coffee. Moreover, at that time, caffeine was considered to be a substitute of sex, and it was starting to be the most common excuse used by women to leave their homes and meet with their friends. If I remember correctly, a popular legend is that coffee was accidentally discovered by a goat herder named Kaldi, who lived in Arabia. One day, Kaldi's goats didn't return to their place, so he went looking for them. When he found out where they were, he saw them very excited and acting strangely around a dark-leafed bush with red berries hanging from it. He decided to try some of those berries, and, after a while, he found himself acting strangely too. He became totally awake and ready to continue traveling after the effects of caffeine. But beyond their social facet, there is a more discreet, though equally representative aspect of coffee and coffee houses. That is, their literary dimension. One can travel everywhere through the imagination while sitting in a coffee house with a book and some caffeine. Actually, coffee houses and bookstores are almost perfect companions. They go together as well as coffee does with milk, and not only in relation to reading, but also to writing. Therefore, great books have been written in coffee houses by authors like Franz Kafka or Søren Kierkegaard, among many others. In between sips, extraordinary ideas have been conceived. And through hard work, many problems have been solved. But going back to the existential part of coffee houses, I would say that they are not only places where one can go to meet people, but also to meet oneself. Life in a coffee house is full of voices and silences that constitute an individuality that is based on the idea that philosophy is not only learning to die, as Montaigne said, but learning to be alone. As if a railway platform for life, a coffee house is a sort of eternal waiting room with a clock without hands. And since there is no time, uncertainty is then perceived as calm. But though they are not the street, coffee houses are not home either. They are a place bordering between the private and the public sphere. They are places where the continuity of life is interrupted, a space where one can think about it all and take a critical, even ironic break from the world. Coffee houses are like the internal life of the city, a reflection of the thousand angles and perspectives that can be taken there. They can be metaphorically regarded as the collective consciousness of a city that thinks about itself from many different places, as if all the interconnected cups of coffee were its neurons, creating self-awareness. However, despite all the efforts dedicated to understanding the reality of coffee houses, sometimes things just don't find their right place. And now, I feel like maybe I've tried to put too many concepts together. I guess the only thing I wanted to say when I started talking about coffee houses in New York is that they are places of freedom, where one can spend the whole evening thinking and writing about any topic. For example, about the words that could be said by a voiceover in a short documentary, as I've been doing today.